Reddit is a place with many stories and mysteries, and tonight we're going to be diving into 3 mysteries from the RBI subreddit. Our first case today is one where a brother returns home from a trip to another country. However, things are strange, and the family believe that he may not be the same man who left at all. I, M30, want to preface by saying I'm not mentally ill, and this is not the schizo post that you're expecting. I have no better way to articulate what I'm thinking right now. My brother, M20, just came back from his gap year, travelling Asia in hopes that he'd find himself. We were never really close, so his lack of contact during this year didn't strike me with too much alarm. But my parents have informed me of 3 separate incidents in which they needed to contact authorities to ask about him. He's a mummy's boy, so this did seem very out of character. We hosted a dinner for my brother's return to the country, but upon seeing him at the airport, it was like a stranger tried to draw my brother from memory and pass that as a real thing. He looked completely different. He was severely underweight, he looked 2 to 3 inches shorter, he seemed bedraggled and unkempt. Believe me, this was the opposite of my brother prior to his trip. He had always been a germaphobe, someone who washes his hands twice to make sure that he eliminates all the bacteria, but this guy, he smelled horrendous. He didn't even talk to us, or properly acknowledge our existence. He begrudgingly gave our mum a hug and our dad a handshake, but he did not say hello to me. It's been around 2 weeks, and what I've been hearing from my parents is horrifying. Apparently, he's been extremely active at night and sleeping during the day. They can only get faint murmurs out of him, and his speech is becoming increasingly nonsensical. He doesn't shower, he doesn't seem to eat, he spends all his days locked away in his room, doing something, my parents don't know what, extremely loudly. They've already contacted a doctor, and he's on a waiting list to see a therapist. I suggested getting the police involved, but they were determined not to. My mum is afraid, and I don't know what to do. I volunteered to stay over and be the peacekeeper as our parents are getting old, and I'm personally worried about that psycho doing something to them. However, my parents have too rejected this. I was never too close with my brother, but this isn't him at all. Does anyone know what could have caused this, or what we can do? It's like someone kidnapped my brother and replaced him with the dude from Castaway. Pretty creepy, right? Imagine one of your family members went on a simple holiday, and when they came back, you almost couldn't recognize them. I'm sure it would throw us all off, so OP's concerned post is certainly not surprising. People immediately took to the comments, and the theory that dominated the conversation was that the brother was having some sort of mental health crisis. One commenter pointed out that, being 20, the brother was at the age where schizophrenia was likely to show up, and so this being an episode of that would be very likely considering the circumstances. And this theory would tie in perfectly to a similar one, that the sudden onset could have been caused by extreme drug use. Through some simple searches, you can discover that drugs such as methamphetamine are incredibly easy to access in Southeast Asia. Not only that, they're cheap too. Considering he had been away for a year, he would have had plenty of time to use a lot of them, maybe even becoming an addiction, and it would have been more than enough time for his appearance to change as a result. This would also likely cause the personality shift that we know happened. OP's title of the post, that his brother has been replaced, while it may not be true, it's not hard to see why he would think that. The man who returned was a shadow of the person who he had known for all of his life, and with the behavioural shift mixed with the physical differences, it's no surprise that he jumped to the very out there conclusions. However, you could argue that, no matter the outcome, his brother has been replaced in a sense. This is a person who he does not recognise, even if physically it is the same human being, and sadly, this post has a horrific conclusion. Update. Hey all, I thought I'd share an update. This will also be my last post on this site, and I wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone who commented. To those who provided genuine help and support, I couldn't be more thankful. My brother is dead. We found him in the early hours of the morning, and I've spent the rest of the day finding the courage to make this post. Maybe it's shock, but I'd like to think he died over in Vietnam, and upon his return, his body was simply catching up, rather than prolong his torment. You all do a wonderful service here, so please keep doing what you're doing. Like the brother says in that post, it's likely that the man who he knew did die in Vietnam. I can't even imagine how difficult it is to witness your loved one losing their mind, especially when, to you, it's like they were there 1 minute and gone the next, and when you know that there is little you could have done to help. OP has since deleted their account. If you want to see more content like this, by the way, then like this video, and also use YouTube's new hype feature to hype it, because that really helps out the channel and helps this video to get in the algorithm, which shows me that you enjoy this type of stuff. If you want to help me out even more, 87% of those who watch these videos aren't subscribed either, so if you don't mind taking a second out of your day to hit that button, that would mean the world. But without further ado, let's get back to the mysteries. What if one day you woke up and your friend had sadly taken their own life? Some of you may have sadly went through that, and that was the case for this Redditor, but they suspect that something is up. My friend was found dead by her husband in June of 2023. Without giving too much away, here are the facts. No note was left. It's a year and a half later, and there is still no police report published. The investigating officer said he only has scattered notes and doesn't know when it will be done. She was found shot in the head on the side of her non-dominant hand in the backyard. The house is in the middle of nowhere. Not one person, even her, was swabbed for gunpowder. No one was brought in for any sort of questioning. It was just ruled a suicide immediately. She had been having an affair. We don't know exactly when her husband found out. Husband is a skilled and experienced hunter. Husband's alibi has changed several times. Police say that he is cleared because his cell phone pinged on the other side of Chicago, which is 6 hours away. She had been talking to people normal for that entire day, and had even gone to the grocery store to get food for the 4th of July weekend. A friend had called her, and she was chopping veggies as they talked. There were chopped veggies found in the house too. Husband first told her friends that he was at his parents' house when it happened. It later changed to he was on a work trip. A private investigator was hired, and that very much upset the husband because he's a private guy. The PI says he can't do anything until he has an official police report. One friend who began asking questions found a deer skull on her porch in the middle of the night, and all her chickens were dead, with no clear trauma, but all lined up in a row. Cops said he didn't swab husband's hand because it was all bloody, and he was extremely distraught. Texts were sent from her phone that night that were very uncharacteristic of her, cancelling plans for the next day. Did not appear to be written by her. Husband says that the Glock 20 was still in her left hand, pointed at her head when he found her. This contradicts the story he told the police that the gun was in her lap, and what he told her mother, that she was laying there and he had to pick her head up and turn it to see what she had done. This is honestly just scratching the surface of what we have, but is this not odd? Can anyone please advise? We are desperate. It's been over a year and a half with not even a police report. We do have an entire file made up if anyone's interested, including recordings with the police, husband, the 911 call, the autopsy, etc. This one screams suspicious. First of all, the police immediately ruling this as a suicide without taking anyone in for questioning is extremely concerning, and is an immediate failure to carry out proper justice. It's only right to do a proper investigation, and it's clear that they did not do that here. The husband is also not painting himself in a good light. His story has already shifted multiple times, initially claiming that he was at his parents' house, to later claiming that he had been on a work trip at the time of the incident. His entire alibi also hangs on the fact that his phone pinged 6 hours away, which could have easily been faked if he had given his phone to someone else for this period of time. It is also concerning because police have taken it completely at face value, and almost written off his dodgy story as fact because of this single piece of unverifiable evidence. The text messages that friends of the dead received that night also seem weird and out of character, as OP pointed out. There have been many cases in the past where someone's husband has killed them and tried to pretend like they were still alive by sending messages from their phone. And while I'm not throwing out any accusations, I'm just pointing out that it would be a possibility. Doing some research, I also found out that it's common to conclude that if wounds were inflicted on a person with what would be their non-dominant hand, then that would raise a lot of doubt, and essentially rule out the possibility of suicide. And if this woman had truly taken her own life, why would disturbing things start to happen to people who ask questions? Commenters urged OP to take this story to the local news, and it's hard to disagree. That would be a brilliant option because it would finally get eyes and ears on a case that police are essentially trying to write off. In a lot of other cases, OP could just be seen as someone struggling with the loss of someone that they loved, and so they don't accept it for what it is. But with all the evidence taken into account, this certainly isn't the case here. Another example of why the justice system is completely inept to do the work that we expect them to do. And OP is still left without any answers. Sometimes the most unsettling mysteries don't happen in the dark, gritty, abandoned houses, but rather in what should be your safe space. This next case involves a Redditor who lives in an apartment, and their neighbour knows far too much about them. I live in a small apartment building in Vienna, and for the most part has been pretty quiet and uneventful. But over the past few weeks, something has been happening that's made me feel like I'm being watched. It started with small things. I'd come home and find my mail slightly out of place, like someone had gone through it. Then I noticed that my trash bin in the hallway had been moved, just a few inches, but enough to make me wonder. The real turning point was last week. I ran into my neighbour, an older man who lives across the hall. We've exchanged polite nods before, but this time he stopped me and said, "I hope you enjoyed your trip to Salzburg last weekend." I immediately froze. I had gone to Salzburg, but I hadn't told anyone in the building about it. When I asked how he knew, he just smiled and said, "Oh, I notice things." Since then, it's gotten worse. He'll make comments about what I'm wearing, what I've been cooking, even what time I usually go to bed. It's like he's keeping tabs on me, and I have no idea how he's doing it. I've started double checking my locks and keeping my curtains closed, but it doesn't feel like enough. I don't want to overreact, but I can't shake the feeling that something's not right. Has anyone dealt with a neighbour like this? What should I do? Is someone moving into their own flat soon? I would be incredibly freaked out if this were to happen to me, as I'm sure all of you would be too. There are many possibilities as to how OP's neighbour could be getting all of this information, so let's look at the most likely choices first. There is a very good chance that the neighbour is going through OP's mail. If he had gotten any letters about his trip to Salzburg, then this would at least explain how he knew all of this. He would have to have opened the letters though, which I'm sure OP would have noticed, so that brings me on to the second option, that he was looking for OP's trash. If OP had put the letter in the trash after he was finished reading it, then it would have been easy for the neighbour to snatch it, read it, and keep that information in his head. Although this would explain it, it certainly doesn't make the situation any less creepy. Because why would someone go out of their way to know everything about their neighbour's private life? It is called private for a reason. People have urged OP to invest in a shredder to possibly prevent this from happening in the future if this is what is happening, and OP said in a comment that they are making sure to be extra careful with both their mail and their trash. OP mentioned that in the past there had been a master key system, and considering how long OP's neighbour had lived there in the building, he suspected that there was a good chance that the neighbour may have access to this. He asked his landlord to change the locks to his apartment, but he has not provided an update as to whether it actually happened, and there are no other updates. We are left with a creepy situation, and an OP who is hopefully living their best life without their nosy neighbour. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video, do all of that good stuff if you did enjoy. And I really would appreciate it if you used YouTube's new feature, which is called Hype, to hype the video. It really helps the channel, helps us get in the algorithm, and helps me reach as many people as possible so we can build a solid community. And yeah, you may have heard me mention in that last story that I am moving into my first flat. So this is going to be the last time with this background, guys. You know, ever since I started showing my face on YouTube, it's been this background, and it's kind of nostalgic now, you know, even though it's only been under a year, but wow. Take it in, because this is the last time with this background of me in this house. Let me know in the comments what you thought of these stories, and if you would like to see more of this type of content. And since I'm moving house, I'm going to take maybe 2 weeks off of YouTube, so please, if you're watching this, get your suggestions in the comments, and I'll be sure to take them when I get back. Don't forget to check me out on social media. I have Instagram, Blue Sky, and Twitter, and I also have a Discord server, so if you want to get involved in our little community, then make sure to join that with the link in the description. Also, a shout out to my friend who made my new profile picture. I love it, and I know a lot of you guys like it too, so please check him out on TikTok. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members: Morrigan, Alex Rod, K4 Silver, Entreprenaut, Collectiki, Brooke, Carmilla, Basefinger, Midnight Kitty, Willow, Briar, X Fizzy, Shoshka, and Frozen Roses. I'll be back soon with another video, but if you want another right now, then YouTube thinks that you'll like the video that's on your screen.